Hey, creator kings and queens. Welcome to Business Models for Creators, the show where we explore the reality of people living their creator dream and help you turn your creator dream into reality. I'm your host, Jasmine Love, and today we have a guest I am so excited to speak to. Our guest is Becca, an indie erotica writer, voice actress, and mom of two hilarious girls. She's also my former Meisner acting partner and an old friend that I am so excited to have. Everybody, even though we can't hear you, let's show Becca some love. Welcome her to Business Manager Creators. Go, Becca. Go. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our last segment, Going Deeper, where we get to know our creators on a more human level. I know you're keeping your pen name secret now. Do you plan on keeping it secret forever? Will you ever reveal it, or how do you feel about that?
I will never, ever, ever reveal it. Never. Part of that is like an alter ego. And I mean, like, it takes a lot of vulnerability to, it just feels so vulnerable in what I do. And I feel like I'm being seen naked, even though I'm not. And so, like, I don't want my mom, my family, and friends to see this.
Yeah.
No, I don't. And what's funny is it's not even the stuff that I'm into that worries me. It's the stuff I'm not into that I do. I don't want anyone to see it who knows me. Like,
Yeah.
like I have fun making everything, but just because I make it and I have fun making it doesn't mean that it's something that is a fantasy of mine or a kink of mine or anything like that.
Oh, and so you don't want people who know you to think that, like, that's the real you and not a
Yeah,
persona.
exactly. Yeah. And even stuff that is the real me, they don't need to know that either. They don't
Yeah.
want to know.
Because even erotica aside, me and my songwriter friend talk about this. When you write a song, it's heightened. It's a drama. Like, you're making it more angsty than it is, or more like whatever than it is. But people think that's the real you. Like, if you sing a
Yeah.
song about heartbreak, they think you're like perpetually heartbroken. You're like, no, it was just a
Yes.
song. It's just a poem. So
Right,
yeah.
exactly. So it's the same sort of thing where
Yeah.
people are just not gonna understand. If they know me, I don't know, it's just gonna change something.
Yeah.
They
But
don't need to see.
do you think you're missing out on money by not telling the people who know you in real life?
No, because 'cause they're not. I mean, it would be weird if I don't want them to buy whatever. That would be
Right.
too
I didn't
weird for me.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that makes sense. And like
Yeah.
your daughter's teacher or whatever.
Like, no, please no.
Yeah, that would be
What's
very
funny
awkward.
is I've talked to their teachers before, and they ask what I do. I'm like, "Oh, I'm a storyteller." They're like, "Oh, so, you should come into the classroom and
Oh,
you should tell the kids stories." I'm like,
oh good. No.
I just don't respond. I'm like, "Be fun."
Yeah.
You know?
And I just realized it has to be more vulnerable because you're using your voice. Because I did let my pen name out in the open, and people in my office read my books and would talk to me
Oh,
about my
really?
books like it was the latest Netflix special. They're like, "Oh, and this character did this and that," and it was rewarding. They have them like talking about it like it was like the hottest series.
Oh, that's
But
cool, but
yeah, it's on paper though. It's Well, you know what? Those are girl coworkers, but some guys do try to project what's in the story on you, like it's all you. I'm like, no, it's
well,
just a
that's
story.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, when I was doing narratives, everyone thought that was my real life, and these were real stories. And there's even other stuff that I put out. There's one platform, whenever I put something out, people think it's real. I don't know why. But
Huh.
people think then I get all these messages from people who think this is, like, the real me and think I've done this stuff, and, like, they're like, "Oh, well." I'm like, "This is all fiction." I didn't
It's
even write
fantasy
that.
fiction. Yeah.
I said who did write it.
People
A
are
guy
so
wrote it.
Yeah, no, speaking of, I used to do theater, like, that's how we met, and when
Yeah.
I became, like, semi-professional at, like, Caribou House, which is a professional theater in Cleveland, I played a pregnant woman who committed suicide, and at the end where you meet the cast meets the audience yelled at me for killing a baby when it was just a pillow in my stomach, and it was just the character where people were seriously angry that I committed suicide while I had a
Oh
baby in my
my
stomach,
gosh.
but clearly I wasn't dead because I was
Right.
talking to them.
Yes, people take it so seriously. Exactly. I have gotten hate mail for
I was
audios that
going to
I've
ask
done.
that.
Yes, I've gotten hate mail where people are like, "You suck. I can't believe blah, 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 blah. You're a horrible person." I'm like, "What is all fiction?"
Yeah.
But I get yeah, I've gotten the hate mail. I've gotten people very angry, apparently.
How do you deal with the hate mail? That's one of my fears. I'm unknown now and I love being unknown, but if I grow, if I actually realize my goals, I'm going to get the hate mail. So how do you deal with that?
What helps is to tell people about it. You can laugh together with people like friends and say,
Yeah.
"What I got." That helps, and they can go, "Oh, that person's so ridiculous." It helps to know that it is ridiculous and that it's not
Yeah.
something that's real. I have written if the person's not anonymous, sometimes I've written back to people and, like, I've been very nice and very polite, and occasionally the people, like, think I'm awesome after I write to them because I say,
Oh,
"Oh, wow, you took that really well. Wow, I'm gonna check out more of your stuff."
oh, good. Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Turn the haters into buyers.
Exactly. I'm always nice to people who are mean to me. And yeah, this is so funny. So there was a patron. 15 minutes after becoming a patron, this guy leaves. He cancels. In
Mhm.
his feedback, he's talking about how much he hates my voice and just going off. And I'm like, wait a second. He became a patron without ever hearing? What? So I wrote
Yeah.
him and I said, "This sounds kinda personal. I don't know what this is, but I don't think you've never heard my voice before. Is this something we can talk about?" You know,
Oh
they
my
never wrote
God.
back, but that's how I am.
Yeah. That takes a lot of like patience and resolve. And
Yeah.
I can be patient. I haven't decided how I will deal with the haters yet because I'm so lucky. My community is so small right now that
Mhm.
everybody is very nice because that's the nature of the less people you have. I have gotten haters on TikTok back when I used to do like political poetry. I got haters. And the way I handled it then was my fans would go after my haters. Like I never had to fight. I have
Oh,
people in my audience who like fighting on my behalf. And I've had that in a couple different ventures where my fans fight for me. But this is a new venture and I'm so in the phase where everybody's very kind and I'm very grateful.
that's
And when I
great.
get the haters, I either can be snarky like they are on Twitter and clap back, but I'm not on Twitter because I feel like I don't have I'm not snarky enough, but that's an option. To do compassion, which is what you do, like kill them with
Mhm.
kindness, or to send my fans, like my community, once I have one after them. That's the third option.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that everyone is so kind to you.
Yeah,
That's amazing. And, I find that the people who are not kind to me are usually anonymous because everyone can be, act however when they're anonymous. And so
yeah,
that's another thing. Because I have an anonymous feedback form. That's usually if they're gonna say something, that's what they do. And I'm gonna say, like, I get way, 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 way more positive feedback than negative. It's rare to get
good.
something super negative. That doesn't really happen that often. So that's one thing where I'm like, you know what? There are enough people who give me positive feedback that this does not matter.
Oh,
And
good.
it just doesn't bother me. And I have even taken negative feedback and I've been like, okay, I'll use this as constructive criticism. I'm going to do better with blah, blah, blah. And it's only made me do better and work harder. So
Oh, that's
I
the
use it in,
perfect attitude to have.
yeah, I use it in very positive ways.
So I take it you haven't gotten death threats or stalkers.
Trying to remember if I've gotten death threats. I don't know about death threats, but stalkers, yeah. There have definitely been people who have wanted to figure out where I live, that kind of stuff. They think they've fallen in love with me for sure. That's always like, huh, what?
How do you deal with that?
Right, right. That is, that's something I was going to get to later. I'll just get to it now. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
But biggest mistake I've made with doing all this, since we're naturally getting to that, is in the beginning, I'd answer everybody who sent me messages. And I was always like really nice. And the thing is that like people were falling in love with me because I was responding to them. And, they felt like they had this relationship with me. None of it was like relationship. I wasn't talking about, I even said I was married. Like I was, the fact that they felt like they knew me on some other level, I don't know. But it's the parasocial relationships. I wanted to talk
Yeah,
about that because that's very important. And people don't talk about it enough.
they
So,
don't. And just
mhm,
quick plug, there is a academic book out called Parasocial Romantic Relationships.
mm,
It's very expensive. It's like a $60 book, but it's such a
ooh,
good read. I'm obsessed with the theory of parasocial relationships. But anyway, continue.
oh, I want to check that out now. um, so yeah, in the beginning, I was doing it all wrong. I was talking to everybody, and everyone kept getting mad at me if I wasn't responding to them within a day, within an hour, whatever. When there's all these people sending me messages, I can't even keep up.
Yeah.
And like so I had people who thought I was their girlfriend.
Oh my
And I
God.
was just thinking, how in the world do you think I'm your girlfriend? I couldn't figure it out. And so I had to stop. So I'm like, I cannot respond to people. And so I told
Yeah.
people whenever they're like, oh, can we DM? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. What we have to do, because I'm way too busy and I am way too busy. I can't do it. I can't keep up with it. Like, I don't want to leave you hanging. So I have the community. I'm like, just respond to my posts, comment on my stuff, and I'll respond back. But it all has to be public. And, it's not
Yeah.
whole conversations or anything. And, I'm responding to everybody. So that's what I tell people, that it all has to, just respond to my stuff. But I
That is
don't
smart.
do DMing. I don't do any of that. I learned. Learned.
Yeah. Especially in your field, because like I've
Mhm,
heard with authors in general across genres, they say you do want to respond to every single reader because it builds a relationship. But this was like back in the day. I was reading or hearing about this, but now fast forward to now, I hear about so many obsessions and
mhm.
stalkers and
Yeah.
people thinking it's their girlfriend. And I'm not even talking about erotic storytellers. It could be somebody in the makeup niche or like
Oh,
whatever that they get the same thing.
wow. So everywhere, that's interesting. Yeah, I thought it was just because of the type of work that I do, like the nature of
No.
it, but I guess not. Yeah, parasocial relationships, it's something to talk about for sure.
Yeah, and not to freak everybody out. If you want to be a creator, I think you should be, and I'm a creator. But like I read this in two different credible places, and both authors were men. They said it's not the fans that hate you that will cause you the most harm, it's the
Mhm.
ones that love you too much that
Yes,
will be the most
every time.
dangerous.
Every time. Those are the ones where once you, like, reject them, you will get message after message, like, just vile things said to you because, you rejected them, you're not their girlfriend, or it's them,
Yeah,
and they're the scary
it
and they
sounds
will
like it.
mhm. Like, I have heard of people who do what I do, who those are the people who, like, doxed them and did stuff
Oh
to
no.
them. Those are the people you do not wanna form parasocial relationships. Don't do it.
Wait, actually, I'm gonna counter you. I say form them, but protect yourself because that's how you monetize. Is if they think
Yeah.
they're. I mean, you don't want them to
Well,
think. Don't form parasocial romantic relationships,
right.
but form parasocial relationships. Have them think of you, and your
The
view is
community
hard.
that I have. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I do
as
that,
a
but make it
friend, as a
public.
mentor. Yeah,
Yeah. The DMs, that's where it gets weird, and I will DM people if they have very nice feedback and they're not trying to start a conversation with me. I'll do, "Oh, thank you so much, that means a lot to me." But if people just keep talking and talking, because those are the people where it's gonna get weird eventually after a few messages. For some reason, chat messages, like on Reddit, instead of, like, regular messages, those are the ones where people get weird really quickly and, like, get very sexual, and it's like, "Yeah, okay, we're not talking anymore."
yeah. Does Twitter have a DM feature, or is that just
They
the
do.
public? They
Yeah.
do. Are people weird on that too?
No, no one's weird with me on there, which
Oh,
is
good.
nice. But Reddit, yeah, people get weird. Like, they'll say a nice compliment, and I'm like, "Thank you so much." And then, "Can I send you my
Oh,
picture of?"
people are still doing.
People are still doing that.
Oh my gosh, it's such a relic of when like online dating first
Yeah.
started and like text pictures just started.
Right. No, they're still doing it, and they do it without even consent. I just block.
Yeah, that is crazy. I feel very sheltered and lucky. I haven't seen one of those unsolicited people body photos in forever, thank God.
Good. Good. Yeah, I
But no, it's good
I
to
don't
be
get much
talking
of
to
that.
somebody about this because I obviously am a content creator. I'm starting this thing. When I was younger, when you knew me in theater, I wanted to be famous. I really wanted to. It's
Mhm.
not that I'm older and I realize how dangerous it is.
Yeah.
People have gotten crazier though, that like the
Yes.
society has changed. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, do I even want to be the face of my business? Do I
Yeah.
want to have a public life? Or do I
S
just want to be an anonymous writer
Same.
because it's
Same.
wild?
I went through that too because I wanted to be famous. I do not wanna be famous anymore. Just
I
seeing
don't
what
want to be
I
famous.
get and what I've gone through, don't want fame, don't want my face out there, don't want. No. Nope.
Yeah. And, like, one of my biggest fears I read about this from a guy who wrote this paradigm, if you are more famous than you are rich, when you start dealing with the troubles of fame, like dangerous people and stuff, you don't have the resources to get security or to investigate them because you have more fame than wealth. So, I never wanna have that
Ooh.
situation where I'm more
Ooh.
famous than wealthy. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, I never even thought about that, but that's so true. You can't get bodyguards or anything. You can't get security everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't get somebody to track them to find out where they live so you can
right.
stuff
No
them if you need
investigators
to.
or anything.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good to think about.
Yeah, that's wild. But yeah, so my whole goal is to figure out how to make money without getting too famous. So
Good idea.
yeah.
And that's the thing too with like the way bigger creators than me. It's like, yeah, I want who do the same thing as me. It's like, well, it would be nice to be at that level, but I see the horrible things they have to deal with at that level. And it's a lot worse than
Yeah.
what I deal with. I'm like, you know what? I like being a smaller creator than them and not have to deal with all the leaking. People leak stuff like crazy. I've had my stuff leaked. That's behind a paywall, but they deal with it so much more often. It's all over YouTube. It's all over wherever. It's all over TikTok. Yeah,
Oh
like
my
at such a
gosh.
huge scale, they get their stuff leaked, and my stuff just gets leaked in like one place. So I'm like, okay.
How do you get it taken down once it's leaked?
Um, well, the problem with that is that you have to do it's called a DMCA. I forgot what it
Oh right.
takedown
That
notice. And like it's legal and it's this and it's that. And you have to give your real name and you have to give, your address and this information. I'm like, nope, you can't do that. So
yeah.
you can't really. But Google does have something where you can report links and have them hidden. If you can say this is my content, my copyright, and then Google, the content will still be there, but Google won't show it. So I need to do that, and it's been on my to-do list. I need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least with what you do is, I mean, leaks suck, but it's harder to get copycats. When something is just written in text form, you can like I've had
Mhm.
my Facebook post plagiarized, and like
Oh,
I only have 1,000 friends or 1,200 friends,
right.
but somebody took my Facebook post and copy
Mhm.
pasted it and made it their Facebook post, and I had to get them to take it down. But it's easier to steal like a blog post or Facebook post. You cannot
Right.
steal
Well,
somebody's narrative.
what people have done is they've taken audios and they've made their own profile, said that there's somebody else,
Oh.
and then just used somebody else's audios. This has happened a lot, and that's another reason why I don't wanna be that popular.
Dang, and
Mhm.
nobody can get away. Oh my
No one can
gosh.
get away. It happens a lot. So, mm-mm.
Yeah, but you guys are still soldiering on. Sometimes they hold back and don't want to be so public because I don't want my stuff stolen. I
Mhm.
don't want any of. Oh, and also one of my friends, she's a romance author and has about 8,000 followers, so about as much as you.
Mhm.
Somebody impersonated her Instagram account. They took
Mhm.
her name and her book cover and then said they said they were her, then they DM'd her fans and, like, asked for money, like, tried to scam her
Oh,
fans.
I've heard that's something that people that's kinda like a new one that has been happening.
Yeah.
Another version of that is people have been hacking popular accounts and they've been asking for money from the real account.
Oh, yeah, somebody that's to a podcaster I love, actually, her name is Scam Goddess, Lacey Mosley Scam
Oh.
Goddess. I love this podcast. A real scammer hacked Scam Goddess and started asking her followers for money.
And then people were like, well, that's Scam Goddess, so I know that's a scam.
Right, yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, her audience is pretty savvy because she trains
Yeah,
us to be savvy, so I don't think that
right.
scammer got a ton of money. Oh, and it was actually her followers that outed the scammer. They were like, "Look at what this person is doing to your account," and they clowned her. The scammer got blasted in this case.
Oh,
They
good.
chose the wrong target.
Yeah, definitely.
But
That's too
yeah,
funny, though.
yeah, it's crazy though how prevalent all
Yeah,
this stuff is.
and that's why I'm scared too. Because yeah, getting my stuff stolen, having somebody else pretend to be me. The thing is that with my work, if people are familiar with my work, if they hear it somewhere else, they'll know for sure
Yeah,
that it's me because of the type of stuff that I do. So hopefully, someone would find it and be like, "Hey." But then the other thing that scares me is if there's nothing I can do about it, then I don't want to know
yeah.
about it.
Oh yeah, because I would suck to know, and then
Mm-hmm. Not be able
yeah.
to do anything.
Yeah, and so I guess that is one of the challenges of being anonymous is
Mhm.
there's certain things like there's certain protections you don't have because they will
Mhm.
out you if you exercise those protections.
Exactly. And that's horrible. It sucks, but
Yeah, I'm glad you're still managed though to hang in there and still
yeah.
doing it, still having fun, still making
Yes,
money.
there are so many people who stop because of the leaks, and I did lose my motivation when I first saw that my stuff was being leaked, for sure.
Yeah.
And I had made a post on Reddit about it, and I'm like, "You know what? This is so disheartening. If you like my stuff, pay for it or I will have to stop making it."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, I get that you like this creator, obviously, if you're, like, taking getting their free stuff or if you've leaked it, if you found it, you might really like this creator, but I'm like, "You're not supporting them by asking for it for free and then having people give it to you, because there are a couple places too, like, there's 4chan where people do it too,
Oh
and
god, that's a scary place anyway.
yeah, and I hate doing, like, Google searches and finding my stuff on 4chan leaked. I'm like, "Oh."
That's the worst.
Yes, yes, and the funny thing is where it gets leaked, they talk about how much they love audio performers. They're like, "Oh, they're awesome." I'm like, "Okay, but you're, like, stealing their
You're
stuff."
stealing.
Right.
Yeah. These people have no sense.
They
Oh my
don't.
gosh.
And I just had to make that post and be like, "Okay, let me lay it out for you. Let me tell you how this hurts me, and let's just lay it all out here. This is I'm a mom, like, my time, it could have been better spent with my family instead of making this content," and laid it all out there, but then it got leaked on the new place after I did that because someone was like, I guess, and so I stopped mentioning whenever anything gets leaked.
Yeah, I'm glad you made the post. I'm not glad it didn't have the impact I wanted it to. Because before you even said it, I was gonna say we need to educate people on how they're hurting
Mhm.
creators, and if only they understood. But I guess they're just assholes.
Nope,
So,
I don't mention it anymore. I'm like, I'm keeping it to myself even though I wish I could say something. Not
yeah,
saying anything. No, and the other thing that I make sure to do now is if I get bad feedback from someone's trolling me, whatever, I don't say anything about it. That will probably bother them more than anything else. If they're sending me a mean message, I say
yeah,
nothing. Like,
yeah.
I say something to them that's really nice, but I don't put anything on Twitter. I don't put anything saying, "I got this message." I'm like, "No, I'm not feeding the trolls."
I like wondered about that because some people they use their troll content as content in itself and the back
Mhm.
and forth. And I'm like, but doesn't that give them it
It
gives
feeds
them
the troll.
validation? Yeah, it feeds the troll, it gives the troll validation. So I always
Yeah.
thought I would just ignore them. And back to Scam Goddess, who I worship. She's one of my favorite creators. She says, what does she do? She mutes them or she like she blocks them in the way where they can't even see that she blocked them because she doesn't even want to give them the validation to know. So I think she just
Oh.
mutes them. She doesn't block them. She mutes them and she
Huh.
never mentions it and she mutes it so she never sees them. They never
Nice.
know she
They don't
saw it. And it's
know.
just, yeah, they're just worthless. And that's it.
Yes. Take away their power. That's what I take it
Yeah.
all away.
The only time I ever mentioned a troll was when I got my very first one. It was on TikTok. So on TikTok, it's easier to grow. Like Facebook is a closed place. Like
Mhm.
not a lot of new people see your stuff. I have a public
Right.
Facebook profile, but still it's not new traffic. But TikTok, all kinds of strangers see it. And I got my first troll. It was on a post that went viral or semi-viral. And I was like, oh, I finally made it in life. Like my thing went viral enough to get haters. And so I had celebrated it. And then my fans attacked the hater. So
Oh. Yeah, I'm sure maybe if I, like, said something and I had a name to go with it, maybe people would I don't know, but I feel like it's best just to leave it alone.
don't feed the
Don't
troll.
feed them.
And
Ignore
also,
them.
I don't want a troll to escalate to a death threat. Clearly, I have a fear of death threats, but I feel like they're too common. I feel like everybody
Right.
online gets threatened to be unalived. So yeah,
Mm, yeah. Yeah. You don't want anything and then the thing about the death threats is usually it is people who do like you so much, like you were talking about, because
yeah,
there have been people who have been stalked and murdered when they rejected somebody in person once it
yeah.
got to that point. So,
Yeah, there's a YouTube couple I just read about recently. I probably shouldn't read these things, but it was a specific article about like the downside of fame. And it was a popular YouTube couple in Texas, and one of their biggest fans drove to their house with a vehicle full of weapons, broke into their house, chased them around the house and hunted them. But luckily, they were able to hide in the closet and call 911, and the cops
oh
killed
my
the
gosh.
perpetrator. But they were just like a famous YouTube couple, and it was
And that
fan,
just
like somebody
YouTube.
who
Yeah.
loved them.
Someone
Yeah.
who loved them. It's so true though. It's somebody who is a fan. It normally is in these instances.
Yeah,
It's
because people
crazy.
yeah, 'cause they say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. So people who are, like, trolls or, like, indifferent, they're not gonna come find you because it takes too much energy.
Right. True.
Yeah. Wow. So you talked about your biggest mistake so far, and what you learned from it. What was your biggest win as a creator so far, and how did you make that come to fruition?
So what happened was I decided I was getting private commissions for stuff that I was not doing anywhere else.
Mhm.
So I'm like, you know what? I do enjoy like it's fun doing this, even though it's subject matter that like maybe I wouldn't normally do. I'm gonna start doing it. Like for stuff that's not private commissions.
Mhm.
Moment I started doing that, I doubled my income that month.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know what? This is what I needed to do. So
Yeah.
definitely diversify a bit. I mean, they always say, you should have your niche. You should, like stick to that. But no. Well, I guess, you could say erotica is mine, but different things that I've never done before too, which I wouldn't have ever thought of or wouldn't want to do. Diversify a bit, like do some other stuff.
Yeah, and it was just from private commission?
So it was doing the stuff from the private commissions, like the
Oh, but
themes.
making it public. Okay,
Right,
yeah.
making like doing the same themes, but for the public or for Patreon. No, I was actually selling these, but I did
Yeah.
start making them public too later. And then and then I started getting more patrons too once I did that. So like
Oh,
I started making, I doubled my income when I did it privately, like behind a paywall. And then
yeah.
and then I started making even more when I started doing it for free.
Yeah,
So
so they, like, uncover, something that was in demand for you, an
yeah,
untapped
yeah,
need or something.
yes.
Yeah.
And then there was something else too that I started getting commissions for. And these were luckily public commissions. I do private and public commissions where public, you pay for it, but I'll put it out for free for people.
Mhm.
And those took off too. Like they're like, and everyone kept getting ones with the same theme. And I guess this theme is like super in demand. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. I need to do more of
Yeah.
this theme. And then I was getting patrons because of it too, because I started doing it on Patreon. And And yeah, like commissions are a great way to find out what people wish I was doing.
Yeah, and, like, that's my dream as, like, a creator is to get a big enough following where the following tells me where to go. Well,
Mhm.
actually, I should rephrase that because there's something called audience capture that I don't want, and that's when you become a slave to your audience and, like, you have to do a certain
Oh,
thing or they'll abandon you.
yes,
So I
yes,
don't
yes.
want, like, the audience to completely, like, make me their slave and tell me where
Mhm.
to go, but I wanna develop a big enough community where it kinda gives me more business ideas and I kinda know what will land because you're talking to me.
Right. And that's another thing where you don't want to put yourself in a box. You don't want to do too many things that are like that one thing because then all the people are going to want that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's good to have enough variety in what you're doing.
exactly. Because there's people, like, outside of fiction, outside of the erotica niche, is, like, the number one complaint I've heard about not only creators, but business owners, their audience traps them in the box. Even, I don't know if you listen to Tool, but Maynard complained about this years ago. Like, he kinda changed his sound a little bit, and the fans wanted his old angry self. He's like, "I moved on." He's like, "It's recorded. Please just go listen to the recording." But they wanted him to keep doing the same angry
Hmm.
music. Or, like, business owners, they are just to talk about their one niche, and they can't branch out, and it becomes a trap.
Right. And I've been so scared of that. And I have found it a little bit in my stuff where it was something that people kept wanting me to do, kept wanting me to do. I never considered it. Not what I've already brought up, but it was something else. I did it. And then that's what everyone wanted from then on because I guess I'm really good at it, like what that thing is. And
Yeah.
now everyone wants it from me. And if I don't do it, like they stop becoming patrons or this or that. And it's like for a while, the only way I could get like a ton of like upvotes and stuff was if I was doing this one thing. It was the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I put myself in that box.
Yeah,
No.
you got the audience capture.
Exactly. I don't want that. You don't want that. Because
No,
that
you
is all
don't.
that people want. And then you do something else that's completely different. Everyone's like, I'm not interested.
Boo. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's
How did you
what's
overcome that? How'd you break out of that box?
I'm still a little bit in it because my most popular stuff is that when I do it. But
Yeah.
I think it's that once I expanded enough and got a big enough reach, I got a lot more people than okay, this is interesting. Sorry, this is a little segue, but my like the listeners on Reddit are mainly like 18 to 24. And
Mhm.
then another platform that I use, they're even older than I am. So since I
Yeah.
have the two, that's what's helped me a lot. Because I put the same stuff on both, but I have a different audience. So one
Yeah.
audience likes this on this stuff that I post, and then the other audience might be stuck on whatever, but at least there are different audiences.
Oh, that's
So that's
perfect.
what
That's
helped. That's what got
awesome.
me out of it. And the other thing I wanted to say about that is so my website. So that's one way that I market. And what's interesting about that I never thought would happen is that people find my website who have never heard my work and they want to hire me.
Mm.
And they send me messages like, "Can you send me samples? Because I really am interested in your work and this and that." And I'm like, "Okay." Even like if they look, there would be tons of samples there, but I need to work on that and put that more out in the open because I never thought about it before. I always thought if
Yeah.
people are going to my website, they know my work. But apparently, no. And a lot of people find me through my website, which is
How
so
did
interesting.
you build your own website or did somebody
Yeah,
else
I
build?
built it.
Oh, how'd you learn to build websites and do SEO and all
So,
that?
I use Wix, and
Mhm.
Wix is very easy to use and build your own website with. And they walk you through the SEO stuff. And so
Wait, for real? Because
yeah,
like, I'm about to build a website in, like, 2 weeks, and I was, like, poisoning myself to learn WordPress, and I had a SEO course I was trying to find and everything.
no,
Wix.
I don't even have to do HTML. I don't have to do any of that with Wix. So
Whoa.
easy, but it's really expensive. That's the problem. It's really
Ah.
easy, but it's really expensive.
Hey,
So,
but if it works, but people
right.
actually find you, the SEO works and stuff?
Yes. Yes, people find me.
How
And
much does
it
it cost?
amazes um, I feel like 700 something a year, maybe more. It's
That is
expensive.
it's kind of expensive, but if it saves me from WordPress is free, but yeah, if it saves me
Yeah,
from doing that stuff, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, it was so easy to make my own website.
And by the
So
way, Wix is not sponsoring us, but Wix, if you want to sponsor me, call
ooh,
me. Yeah,
call her.
yeah, yeah. I'll try. I have to try it first. So I've heard of Wix. Actually, I think when I was first an entrepreneur in my matchmaking business, maybe my first website was Wix, but that was a decade ago, so I don't even remember.
Yeah, it could have
But
changed a lot since then.
yeah,
Also, they've got different packages too, where maybe I don't know if they all are as easy as the one that I got. I have no idea.
do you have a blog too, or is it just a
Yeah,
static website?
it's
Oh, good. You can
with
do a blog.
Wix, so it's through Wix. It's the same thing with the same website. It's through
Yeah.
there. And so, yeah, that's where I just post every single thing I put out, and people can subscribe to that too. And yeah, anything I want to tell people.
Yeah, I love how I'm like learning through my own podcast because like I'm solving my own problem because I need to build a blog, but I've been putting it off because I'm so intimidated by building a website and learning WordPress and what plugins. And I have learned some SEO, but yeah, I was
They,
overwhelmed. But just to get started, I could just
yeah,
do it and keep going.
yeah, they walk you through the whole thing. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I thought I heard something in the past about how Wix and Squarespace and stuff, if you use them, like, is not as good for SEO is what I heard, but you're saying
Hmm.
people are discovering your
People are
website. So
discovering it. Yeah, I think they're just
yeah.
looking up like erotic audios and finding me or something.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, it's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, I think I am gonna just use Wix because like my whole lesson in this creator's pursuit I want is just to get rid of the bottlenecks and like save time. Like that's why I have an editor for my podcast. I was like about to learn and tinker and toil. I was like, you know, I found somebody great. I'm just gonna hire them and just keep the party moving.
Yeah, because that can end creativity too and stuff. If there's something you don't want to do, if there's a part of it that's holding you up, and it's good to yeah end the bottlenecking. Just yes,
This is like I don't
yeah.
know y'all audience if y'all learning, but I'm getting me some tips.
Oh,
So
yay. The other thing I was
yes.
going to say that's related to that whole bottleneck thing is with creativity. If you're stuck on a project, don't do it. Just stop for a while. Because a lot of people are like, no, I'm working on this. I will stop even for years. I'll pick something else. Like I always say, if you're a writer, write what you feel like writing at that moment because you're going to be able to
Mhm.
write and not be able to stop. Don't be stuck on another project. Don't be stuck on this thing you haven't been able to figure out. Just write something different and then get back to it. And it works.
Yeah,
So,
you gotta like if some people call it follow the energy, but you have to follow the
mhm,
energy.
that's what I
Yeah.
do. If like, even if I'm like, I have to do this one project, I'm like, you know what? I really don't have to. I can be my own boss. I'm my own boss. So I'm like, I will just put that out next week or another time. And I'm going to work on this now. And I know my work will be better because I'm doing that. So it'll be worth it.
And I have to highlight that is the beauty of being smaller. That's one thing
hmm
I like being small too, because once you have, let's say, a professional publisher or an agent or a manager or an
You're
executive
stuck. Yeah.
producer, you have to finish that project. But
Right.
when it's just you and your indie and
Mhm.
nobody is like getting the cut or you don't have like a some type of manager or whatever, you could just put stuff to the side and then work on something else.
Exactly. It's great. I love being my own
Yeah.
boss and getting to do that and being like, I can work on anything I want.
That is great because when both you and I knew each other, we were like trying to head towards Hollywood.
Mhm.
But there's so many more rules and expectations in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
exactly. And oh god, I don't think I could take Hollywood
Me
now.
neither.
Like,
Now
no.
now I'm old and tired. I can't do it.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't want 17-hour days.
Yeah, now and then like flying from coast to coast, like you have an interview in LA,
Mhm.
then you have to go to New York for an appearance and
No, mm-mm. Not my life anymore.
yeah, me neither.
No way.
I'm very curious about this. I can't believe I didn't ask this yet. How did you even choose the erotica genre? There's so many genres.
Right. So the basic answer is I don't know. When I was 14, I wrote some erotica. I wasn't even in high school yet. Back then, it really sucked, and I was so ashamed of it, but I was reading it out loud to a friend,
Mhm.
and they put it on speaker for everyone else in the room to hear. It was awful.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Oh
"I'm
my
never
goodness.
doing this again. I'm never writing erotica again." And, but I think it was that thing in 2010, like, with the fan fiction when I wrote it, and I'm like, "Oh, I really like writing this. It's fun." And there's also something about doing the controversial that's fun, and I've always liked. Like,
Yeah.
when I was 14 or a kid, it was like anything that you weren't supposed to be listening to or watching, that's what you wanted to listen to, explicit lyrics. All
Yes.
the songs that had that little sticker on it, you're like, "That's what I wanna listen to." So I think that could be a little part of
O
it too.
okay, I have a segue since you liked
Mhm.
explicit stuff when you were younger. Did you ever see the movie Sliver with Sharon Stone and Billy Baldwin?
I did, I think, but I can't remember it.
Oh, because when I was younger, I liked it and I thought it was a good movie. Then I watched it as an adult and literally threw the DVD in the trash can because it was only good because it was explicit and forbidden. It's just like it's
Uh-huh.
supposed to be mainstream, but it's really just a bunch of like rando sex. It's a ridiculous plot, bad acting. And so I liked it as a kid because it was naughty. I wasn't supposed to
Exactly.
see it. But then once I finally was allowed to see it, I was like, this is a movie? Like, threw it in the trash can.
Yeah, I love how we judge things back then when it's naughty and
Right.
explicit. Yes, exactly. So I tried after I did do when I was after even doing erotic audios, I tried doing safe for work. In
Hmm.
addition, there was no audience for it. None.
Really? Like, what kind of safe for work? Safe for work mystery, safe for work
Everything.
romance?
I did
Okay.
horror, I did everything you can think
Wait,
of.
there was no audience for horror? People love them some
No.
murder.
No. Like, I could not interest people with my safe for work stuff. I tried it on Patreon. I even like the same Patreon with the not safe for work stuff. Everyone's like,
Mhm.
"Hmm, that's okay, no." No one wanted it.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, I even tried it with a brand new name, like, trying to build a new following. No one wanted it. Like, it was getting, like, too up.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, "Okay, people like sex." That's
Yeah.
it.
They do say sex sells.
Sex sells, and that's what I learned, so, yeah.
That is interesting to know. Starting out as a natural interest, and then after being compared to other genres, it just made more money.
Yep,
Did you ever try safe for work romance?
I did do some of that too, yes.
Did
And it's
that
still
sell?
no one cared.
Wow, that is I'm actually glad we're having this conversation too because if my hands are full with the podcast now and I have a day job as a writer, but I was gonna try to get into clean historical romance, and it seemed underserved because everybody's so naughty now. I'm like,
Mhm.
what if I do the opposite and get super clean? But then I realized even Bridgerton, which I haven't watched, but it's very popular, they took historical, but they added sex to the
Sex.
historical.
Yes.
So yeah, added sex as the ingredient. So
It's the
that
same.
was not gonna work. 'Cause and I
Sex
also
sells.
yeah, I was gonna try cozy mystery, but I described it to my friend, and she was like, "That sounds really boring." Because cozy mystery is no sex, no swearing, and the murder happens off camera. And so
Uh,
she's like, "Yeah, no."
there are older people who really like it, though.
Oh gosh. Yeah, anyway, I don't think it's gonna be my thing, but I was just like, I thought like my thinking was right, like, okay, everybody is being sexy right now. If I go super clean, it's just gonna be different from
I
the
see your
crowd.
line of thinking, I do.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
from my own experience
yeah. I'm glad you
yeah.
shared that experience. It makes sense though.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm just randomly curious about are most of your listeners and patrons men or women or both?
So, this is something I was so surprised about. I was in a lot of Facebook groups for erotic authors, and it was
Mhm.
always women. Like, women were always the fans. And so I kind of thought, especially since I was doing narratives, that I'd get like mainly women or like mixed. No, it's
Mhm.
like 99% men.
Oh, interesting. So they're
Yeah.
using it like an OnlyFans, even though it's not an
Yeah.
OnlyFans. Yeah. Very interesting. And
It
actually, this
is.
is a tidbit that's just coming to me. What was it? It was like literally the 1940s or 50s or 60s. This woman had a radio show. It was not sexual because that was back in the day where you couldn't be sexual in public, but she just was like kind of, she would talk to the microphone like she was their wife or girlfriend, like, oh, hi, honey. I know you just got home from work. I'm brushing my hair. And like, it was a parasocial romantic relationship,
Um,
but on the radio. And she blew up. I wish I could remember someone's
oh,
name, but she was like the first like famous radio woman, and because all these guys saw this one radio woman as their girlfriend. But
well,
yeah,
that's like what the work that I do. So it makes a lot of sense because I do
yeah.
the role plays. Because I started off with narratives, which were not that popular because I didn't know that role plays were the way to go. And role plays are so much more fun too, but I do love narratives as well.
Wait, with the role
So
plays, are you involving the listener in the story? Is that how
yes,
it works?
yes.
Okay, good.
So I'm talking to them and I'm saying, "Oh, I love how you're doing blah, blah, blah." So you're hearing my side, but not their side.
Oh,
It's
no
all my
shit, that
side to
makes money.
them.
Of course, I didn't even understand that part at
Yeah.
first. I just thought it was mostly narrative, and when you said role play,
Oh,
I thought you
gotcha.
just meant you play both characters, like the man and the
Oh,
woman,
no.
but
No, no,
you're
no.
just a woman and they are in the
Uh-huh.
story. Okay, got
Yes.
it.
So I'm doing stuff to them, they're doing stuff to me. And yeah,
That of course
that's
that makes money, like, no duh. Yeah, okay, that makes sense, and,
yeah.
like, have you heard of the app Dipsia before?
I have not, I don't
Oh,
think.
how have you not? It's like right in your genre. So anyway, Dipsia, they're not sponsoring me either, but if you want to, call me. Dipsia is revolutionizing sexual wellness for women, and they're making sex like a health and wellness thing. And it's all these stories. Some of them have both characters, the man and the woman, and it's like a story you listen to, but it's like female center, is everything's very consensual and whatever. But then they have ones where it's how you're describing the role play, the person is telling you what they're doing to you or
Mhm.
whatever. And it's a kind of a new app, but they hire writers, and I was like just surprised you didn't work for them. And they have actors. It's like a whole production
Mm,
studio, and it's the first of its kind that is like a, I guess it's an erotica app for women, but they market it as a wellness app, sexual wellness app.
interesting. Oh, well, sexual wellness, that's so true, and wellness in general. Because you were talking about how people treat it like OnlyFans, but that's not everyone.
Yeah.
I have been told that they listen to my stuff because it's cheaper than therapy and, helps people with anxiety, stress, depression. It's when people feel lonely, like, it really helps them because it's more intimate than, like, visual stuff for sure, and
Yeah.
like, it doesn't give them the same insecurities, like body insecurities and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
it's there's like, people will listen to it as a sleep aid too, even if it's, like, really rough sex.
Oh, so it's
Um,
like ASMR kind of in a way.
yeah, it gets used in the same way, exactly. So, yeah, there are lots of ways people use it because 'cause I've definitely asked people, like, what do you like about that?" And I get so many cool answers, and I've gotten so many people who have sent me messages too saying that I've helped them with their anxiety, and I've helped them with this, and I've made them more sex positive, I've made them so they're not ashamed anymore, and, like, they used to not be able I don't know, okay, maybe this is not okay for the podcast, but it was something that they didn't feel like doing by themselves, but they feel comfortable doing it now.
Oh, got you. That's not
But
so
they and they've
raunchy.
never been able to do it before until now.
Oh, you're like a
So
little sex therapist.
yes,
Yeah, without the license.
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
No,
like,
and it,
it's
I bet this is better for their brain than visual pornography because
mhm,
that like short circuits your dopamine reserves and like causes addiction and all kinds of stuff. So I bet this is like just healthier, better for
yeah,
wellness.
I guess so, and I it feels good too, and it's super fulfilling hearing these things and hearing it helps people, which is so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, like, I
Cause
love that feedback.
yeah, my perception of what you do evolved over the course of our conversation. I saw it more like like erotic entertainment, like an OnlyFans or like a
Mm,
movie, but it is like the Dipsia, like the wellness app, only your audience is more men and Dipsia is more women.
yeah, and that's something important too that, men do listen, so my stuff is pretty filthy.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if women want to hear. I don't think women like it.
Yeah.
It's filthy.
I don't know. So you would be some women don't let the gender distinctions
True,
fool you.
true. But I try to
The-
make it as filthy as I can.
yeah. Well, I guess it would be different because, like, the niche I was in, erotic romance, when you write, the feedback I got, the positive feedback I got, where it was steamy, it was sexy, but not nasty. Everybody said it was not
Mm.
crude, it wasn't too much, and I knew just when to like fade the black or just
Oh,
when to
that's
use a
good.
euphemism. So yeah, I think some women do like it super raunchy, but for the most part, I think women do like a more softer, more artistic touch.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually like the thing is I find it's like when I was a kid, I find the filthier stuff the most fun. Like it's the naughtiest, so it's fun to do.
I could see that. See,
Yeah.
I will always be a poet. I was young like you when I wrote my first erotica. I think I was 15 or 16. But I still remember when I still have it like handwritten. It was ridiculous. I took the Little Mermaid and eroticized it, and like,
Oh.
but it makes no sense because like mermaids don't have legs, and like I don't know what I was doing. But anyway, it was some type of Little Mermaid erotica plot, and everybody still kept their underwear on. But yeah, it was just very romantic and over the top and flowery. And I posted a segment of it like 5 years ago on Facebook, and all my writer friends laughed with me because it was completely
Oh, I need to
preposterous.
find that.
Yeah,
Definitely have to
it's
find it.
somewhere like 5 or 6 years ago, I posted an excerpt. You gotta find it.
Oh, I still remember mine that I wrote when I was 14. So this girl was a runaway. Her name was Trixie, and she went to like a piercing shop. She got her
Mhm.
nipples pierced and like she got it on with like the piercer tattoo artist who's way older than her. She's like a teenager. So
Oh my
bad.
gosh, you are filthier than me. Like mine was just like a mermaid, and they're like you're hooking up in the ocean or whatever, and then, like it was just my
Yeah,
stuff
mine
had like over the top fireworks and romance.
mine was not flowery. Mine was just like a money ate her, you know.
Yeah. Then I went through a phase as a teen because I'm not gonna say who. I had a a person in my life who was trying to scare me straight, make me watch Kids, the movie Kids, which was
Yes,
traumatizing.
same,
I
same.
watched that when I was 11. So then I started writing stories where everybody got AIDS. That was just like my whole plot.
That
Like
was your
every
thing.
time everybody had AIDS. And even a story I wrote, I still have it for honors English. It was a story about a strip club, but it had men and women strippers. 'Cause I had never been to a strip club
Interesting.
before, so I didn't understand. And like bartenders, and it was like this love triangle, and it was like it was a little bit of sex, but a whole lot of drama. And I gender role reversed. The guy was getting used for his body and his looks, and there was a one vixen who was just like using people for sex or whatever. And anyway, in the end, everybody got AIDS. So, and that was the end of that.
That's great.
Yeah, I still have it. So it's called The Real Thing. Who would have guessed? Because like at the end, the guy who got used for his looks, and then like this woman who had like addiction problems was a runaway. They fell in love, but the bartender, the vamptress, she was the one who like gave him AIDS, and he gave AIDS to her. But yeah, whatever.
My gosh. I love it.
I
I love that we
am
can laugh about like our older work and our how we began.
Yeah, and I love how both began so young.
I know. Well, our work has definitely gotten better, so
Yes, thank goodness. Yours definitely have. You really put in her ups. Like I said, I have okay, one novella, 3 full-length novels, maybe like 3 short stories, and then I have
nice.
about 20 books that I wrote the plot for, but I hire writers for. And like my bestseller, and this is how weird romance can get, but I got into a groove of doing bear shifter menage romances. So those are
Oh, and
guys
that's
who shift into bears, but then it's 2 guys and 1 girl. Like that was like my bread and butter. It was the first time I ever made $1,000 in a month on one story.
oh, that is interesting that that was what was like really popular because I've seen those stories before on Amazon. And I'm like, what? But that
Yeah, the bear shifters
there's a
was
market.
popping.
There's a market.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a honey badger series that's super popular.
I've been
Yeah.
out of the industry for a long time. I don't know what they're doing now.
Yeah, so a honey badger shifter.
Interesting. And then for a while they were doing single dads. But
Yes.
like children scare me. Sorry, moms and dads out there, but children, I picture them bringing viruses home from school. They're
Oh,
puking all the time. They're like coloring on things. So, like, even
it's
though there
true.
was money in it, I couldn't bring myself to write the single dad
Mhm.
story because, like, I'm afraid of single dads. So, like, I couldn't. And then step brothers were trending,
Yes.
but I consider my stepbrothers to be my real brothers, like, we grew up together,
Mhm.
so I couldn't get myself to write a stepbrother romance, and then they started
Right.
getting banned anyway. They were selling really well, and then they
Yes,
got
yes. I
banned.
will say that, I do
I believe it, it sells.
it sells, yes. I'm not that's, like, something I didn't think I would talk about on the podcast because it's very, like, taboo and it's this and that, but that's kinda what makes it fun to perform.
Yeah, and, like, even though I guess we talk about safe for work and not safe for work, I used to be a contract attorney, and even though we were attorneys that understood the law, all we talked about was not safe for work stuff at work, and so there was this guy I worked with who was obsessed with mainstream pornography, and I wrote erotic romance, and we would compare what was trending in each niche. Sometimes it was crossover, sometimes it was different, but the whole stepbrother romance thing went across the board. It
Uh-huh.
went yeah, it was crazy.
It is. It's still really popular. Just it never lost that momentum.
Wow, years later, because this is 10
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago I'm talking
No,
about.
still. It's still big.
That's crazy. Oh my I went and like I can't believe they're still doing the shifters, the honey badger shifters. I know they're
Well,
still doing vampires 'cause I have a friend who writes vampires.
mm. So, yeah, I guess there's stuff that's just classic and doesn't go out of style.
Well, true, but it was hard to find because my big stressor in erotic romance and where I fell short, I could have made more money. You had to ride the trends and the trends would change. But like
Mm.
the things I write were rock star romance. That's what I'm into,
Mhm.
or was. I'm not even into rock stars anymore. But rock stars had gone on to Vogue, but that's what I was into. So if I'm writing it myself, it's gonna be rock stars. But then that's why I hired the ghostwriter for the other things because
That makes
the trends
sense.
kept changing and it was hard to keep up with them.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of the problem that I found with what I was doing, at least at the beginning. Like, monsters were really popular, like and
Oh,
I was
never
just
again.
like so at first I'm like, "I can't be a monster." But then I did, and I'm like, "Okay, it's kinda fun being a monster." So
That's how I felt about the bear shifters. I was like, "This is so weird." And then once I got into it, I was like, "Oh, bear shifters are kinda cool."
yeah, because I find like, I like to go all out with my acting, and I'm like, "If being a monster, I can do anything I want because 'cause I'm a monster, like, I'm not a human, so I can have this trait and that one, and I can just be crazy."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "That's
Very
really fun."
what is your favorite thing about being a creator?
I love when I come up with an idea, like, it's all mine, like, the idea, it's all from scratch. So I birth this thing and I make all of it myself, and I just bring this thing to life from, a simple idea or whatever. And, especially, like, when I'm really proud of it, and I usually am because like, I'm a perfectionist, and I won't even make a story unless I feel like it's ready. And so it's the best feeling, especially if I get good feedback, but no matter what, it's a great feeling just be the whole process of creating from scratch.
That is awesome. That sounds awesome. And
Yeah.
what is the most challenging part about being a creator for you?
So competition, that's a huge thing where I should be over it by now. But I don't know. I'm a jealous person, and I mean, I can be jealous even when I shouldn't be jealous of competition. It's like they're not even doing as well as me, but I'm still jealous because they got that comment. So I've learned I have to stay in my lane. I'm so much happier and I'm so much more creative if I pay no attention to anyone else who does the same job as me.
That makes
Because
sense.
yeah, because I'm like, I don't wanna see their success, because then I compare myself, and yeah, I do too much comparing, which I think is not a great quality trait, so I hate admitting it, but I can't help it. I get jealous, ugh. Competition,
See,
definitely.
it's natural, and I'm glad you admitted it so people won't feel bad. I guess I got very blessed and lucky that my jealousy got beaten out of me early by motivational seminars. I went to the seminar called The Millionaire Mindset, and he said, "Don't envy people with money because then people envy you, like look up to them or something like that, or something like being motivated by them or inspired by them." And that was a really long time ago. So now, whether it's money or a certain look or a certain level of clout, I naturally do not get jealous. I mean,
Good.
there may be some at some point for some reason, but I mostly am inspired by them. Like, oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. But that's
That's
only
good.
because I was trained that way from seminars young.
That's good, and that's the best way to think. Like, if you can learn from them because, like, I'm sure there's so much I can learn from the people that I'm jealous of and from my competition, like, that's a good way to learn, but mm-mm. Can't do
Yeah.
it.
But at least you know your
I
own
can't look
weakness
at
and
it.
you're like, okay, I'm not
Mhm.
gonna look at this. This is triggering to me.
No,
That is
because I
smart.
found that when I yeah, because I found that when I do look at it, I my creativity just I can't even create anymore. So, I'm the most
Yeah.
creative and I'm the happiest when I don't pay any attention.
I guess my weakness, because you're looking at your what I will call your neighbors, like next door on Reddit. I actually do compare myself, but I'm glad I don't get too down about it. But I compare myself to like Oprah and Howard Stern and Joe
Oh,
Rogan, like the big dogs. Like I could care less about the neighbor next door. Who is this person? But like
the
I'm looking
big
at
people.
yeah, I'm looking at Trevor Noah. I'm looking at, the people. And so that's how what I compare myself to. But like keeps me like working hard. 'Cause I have a long way to go before I'm Oprah or Rogan or Larry King or
Wow,
Howard Stern. But yeah, I don't even think about like the neighbors or
that's
whatever.
interesting. I think if I thought about, like, the big people, I would never be able to create another thing ever.
I can see that.
I don't even think about them, like, the big people, like, I wanna be at their level for sure, but I know I'm not. I can't get there
Yeah.
yet. They're not even we're not in the same lane at all. Totally different
Yeah.
lanes,
Are there
so they don't
celebrities
bother
in your
me.
niche?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, for, like, anime, that kinda
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Manga, what not manga, but, yeah, definitely voiceover actors who do very similar stuff but get paid the big bucks, and they're really well known.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yes,
The
yes.
Stormy Daniels of audio or whatever.
Yes.
What is something you would love to do or take part in?
I would love to, well, do, like, the voiceovers, the big voiceovers, that would be fantastic. I wanna move up, pretty much. It'll take time, but at the same time, this is why I find myself in trouble because I wanna keep doing what I'm doing. Where do I find the time to move up?
Yeah.
'Cause you have to take extra steps, you have to do a lot more work. I don't have that time, but I would love to just get invited to do other things, like how I got invited to do the audiobook. So I just
Mhm.
need to get invited to do, get a big gig with voiceover or a small one,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Yes. So I need to get invited to do it.
Awesome. And how did you get in or how did you get found and invited to do the audiobook?
So this was somebody who I had already worked with in the past. I had done this person's scripts. So I performed them for free. This is like my free stuff that I put out.
Mhm.
And because this person liked my work before that, and then I started doing their scripts, and so then they stopped writing them. And then they started like writing books and stuff. So then they asked me if I will narrate it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I
they were
mean,
actually a patron of mine at some point too.
and that's my dream. It has been my dream since I was going to get quote discovered. I like literally
Uh,
packed up and moved to Chicago. It's a bigger city. I thought some type of talent would get discovered, but I was not. Oh, I did get discovered, but for like the price was not good. So I had my own blog. It's back when I was a matchmaker and doing dating coaching. and some guy with a big matchmaking company in New York discovered my work and wanted me to write for him. But like, I literally
Ooh.
can't believe this ever happened. I was writing blog posts for $25 a blog post. Once I became a real professional writer, I started charging $500 for blog posts.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
like, I just didn't know what I was doing, but I did get discovered from the internet and hired to do something, but never big because I was very underpaid, but didn't know it. I
Right.
didn't know I was underpaid.
$25 yeah, $25 for a blog post. That is definitely underpaid.
Yeah. But one day, yeah, I hope I get discovered. Although I'm torn about getting discovered because, like, as I shared before, I'm afraid of having that big life with managers and
Mm,
agents and a book calendar. So I don't want to get too discovered. Yeah,
right.
I have to get clear on what I want because I don't want to get thrust into some like really demanding, high paced life.
Right, and that's yeah, similar things, and if I do get, make it bigger, then I won't really be my own boss anymore. I like being my own boss. I like doing what I want. And yeah, I
Yeah.
won't really be like that anymore.
But it'll be a lot more money.
Mhm. I'm like,
Yeah, like it is,
yeah.
yeah. I'm just hanging back to see what happens. I like to be intentional with my life, like get clear on what I want and manifest it. But I actually don't know what I want because there's like pros and cons of like making it big. And also, I live on the island and I like living on the island. But most podcasters who like get like a big podcast and they'll live in LA. And I
LA.
used to live in LA briefly. I interned there, but like it's earthquakes there, and they be having droughts and fires. And I'm like, oh, do I want to
Yeah.
live in LA? And that used to be the dream, but now I don't know.
I get that too,
Yeah.
especially, yeah, with what's been going on in California the last few years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
They have some problems.
They do.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I love how I'm acting like they're calling me tomorrow. Like LA call. Nobody's calling me. And nobody
Well,
asked.
you're comparing yourself to Oprah.
Oh, this is true. This is true. And I always have that. I always had the big guys. What is a personality trait or habit you would like to develop?
I need to get better at motivation, getting over procrastination. I mentioned the supplements and just getting motivated in the morning. I want that to come automatically,
Mhm.
somehow. Do a routine, have a productivity thing finally work. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I need that skill to be able to start working at like 9:30 in the morning and just go straight through to like 3:30 and kick ass, but I don't know how to do that.
Oh, that is the dream. I mean, I have to work now because, like, I'm a
Mhm.
professional writer, like, as in I write for somebody else, and it could be hard. And I always thought people who did other things and weren't writing, like you do acting, is different. It's not writing. I thought you guys had it easier. 'Cause I thought it was easier to get motivated to speak or motivated to draw or motivated to design, but not write. I feel like writing is like, "Oh, I gotta wake up and write." But I guess everybody has that problem, whether you're speaking
Everybody,
or writing.
no matter what it is, I can promise. Well, actually, no, I'm sure there are people who are amazing and can just jump on it and just not me.
Yeah, I've
Not
had
at
people
all.
on this show who just wake up first thing in the morning and they talk to the copywriters. Those are the most motivated bunches I know.
Wow.
They wake up, cracking on, grab the laptop, get to typing, and yeah, it's impressive. Like I'm hit or miss. It depends on what week of the month it is, what exactly I'm writing, which morning it
Right.
is. One trip for me, I wish I wasn't so finicky. I wish I could be like super productive and creative no matter what, but I have to have the conditions perfect. And for me, I have to write before I eat. That's when I can get into the flow state the easiest, is if I get the words
Interesting.
out before I put the food in.
Interesting. And that makes sense too, because I find that if I eat, I can kind of have like a crash where I get like tired and I don't know. So that makes sense. But then I can also feel like I'm hungry. I need to eat.
I have
I
that
can't really
problem
think
too. So
without
that's
that.
why it's inconsistent. I have to wake up and
Mm,
not be too hungry, then do the writing. Yes, I'm still working on it. Okay, this is a really good one. This is probably going to be the most important question of the podcast. If someone wanted to follow in your footsteps and create, be the type of creator you are, monetizing audios, what advice would you give them?
okay. So marketing, most important. You got to do it and you got to get over your fear of it or like I don't want people to be annoyed by me. As I said before, get over that. Marketing's the number one thing that you need to do. One very, very important thing, and this is something that I had trouble with in the beginning, was holding back, especially with writing and improving and stuff. I was afraid to just let go and do it fully. Just don't be ashamed. Be vulnerable and put it all out there. Be dirty or make your character as evil as possible. Just don't hold back. And don't try to tame things and tone it down. Go all out. And
Mhm.
that took me a while because I felt so vulnerable doing that. And I actually started doing it because I got a message from someone who was like, I want this to feel like it's real, and like this is I don't remember how he phrased it, but I'm like, I shouldn't be holding back. And it was very hard to write my own material because it is so personal in a way, even if it's stuff that I'm not into myself.
Mhm.
And because I used to be so ashamed because the experience I had when I was 14 and I wrote and I was put on speakerphone and everyone was laughing. And
Okay.
so it was just, it's getting over that vulnerability and feeling ashamed. Because this way you make other people feel less ashamed too. If you just go for it, you put it all out there. Be dirty, whatever, filthy. I don't feel bad about it anymore. Like as I said, I try to be as filthy as possible. I don't hold back at all anymore, and it's the best feeling to have that freedom and not feel bad about it and not feel weird being like, "Oh."
And I love how you said, like, the less ashamed you are, you, like, free other people to not be ashamed. That's
Yes,
beautiful.
so true. And I found that out just from people messaging me, telling me like they're not ashamed anymore, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful. Like those messages really touched me. And yeah, if people see you, if you do want to do erotica and they see the level that you do it and you have no shame because it's not something to be ashamed of. That
Yes,
does help
and
others.
we need more of that in the world, helping others individually, but also as a collective society.
Mhm. Definitely. Mhm. And marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Market, market, market.
Be yourself and market yourself. Shamelessly
Yes.
self-promote.
Shamelessly, yes. Get over that fear.
Yes. Last question. Who would you like to see me interview next on Business Models for Creators?
So, I'm gonna be a little selfish, and I'm gonna say
Okay.
someone who has, my dream job. So someone who's actually getting monetized for well, not monetized, but someone who's, making the big bucks, doing voiceover or something.
Yeah.
That would be
Awesome.
cool.
I'm gonna put it on my wish list. I have a couple unique ones. I want to interview somebody who writes video games, and then I'm gonna ask somebody who's big in voiceover and actually have connections in the voiceover world.
Oh,
So, I'm actually gonna try to make that happen.
awesome.
Yes, and I'll be sure to tell you about the episode. Well, you
Thank
are
you.
anonymous, so I doubt you want to be found. But if you want to be found, where can
Mm.
people find you, or would you rather not be found?
I can give an email address.
Okay. Yeah, if people want to connect with you and get some advice or talk to you, where can they
Yeah,
reach you?
sure. Okay, so it is Rebecca, Rebecca, star, @gmail.com.
Awesome. Get in touch with Rebecca, but do not stalk her or sexually
Thank you.
harass her.
Yes.
Only honest inquiries and questions. She is not your
Yes.
mentor, girlfriend, or coach.
Mhm.
Just respect her time.
Thank
Awesome. Well,
you.
thank you
Yes.
for listening. Thank you for being here, Becca. Wherever you are, like and subscribe if you are on YouTube, rate and review if you're on Apple Podcasts. And until next time, keep creating.